highly thought of Dr. Donna Matahaere-Atariki. Donna began teaching in community and family studies at Otago University in 1995 before leaving in 2000 to take up a position with Ngai Tahu Development Corporation as Tribal Education Manager, later transferring to the senior executive team in the office of Te Runanga o Ngai Tahu. During this time, she led the development of memorandum between the Ngai Tahu and the Ministry of Education, while also serving for a number of years on the council at the University of Canterbury. There is a whole lot more to this lady, but I'm going to just let her do the talking. Kia ora, Donna.
Kia ora everyone, and thank you for that. I actually whakapapa back to a little place on the peninsula of Dunedin called Otako. I'm from the Portuguese whānau there. My mother was actually from Stewart Island, but if you have an understanding of the sort of the geographic area down there, so we went backwards and forwards from that area. My father, so my mother's Ngai Tahu. My father is a number of different North Island iwi from mainly, he was born in Hawara and sort of brought up on the marae around in Oahangai. If people know sort of, if you go sort of inland from Pātea, he was born there, and he ended up down in Bluff and met my mother in the, must have been the early 50s, because it was sort of the same decade that I was born actually, and met my mother there, and he'd sort of said, you know, he said he knew as Māori that when you come south, if he wanted to live there, he had to find someone local and marry them. So it's something, you know, that annoyed my mother to hell anyway. But so that's me, and I'd just like to say kia ora to Darren. I'm also the mother of a 10-year-old boy with Asperger's, and I learn every day the struggle that they go through, because sometimes it can be sometimes it's really not noticeable. You get very little support because you're seen as high-functioning autism, I think they refer to it as, and I keep thinking he's high-functioning because we knock ourselves out every day to get up at 5 o'clock every day because this is the routine he's got himself into, and to get him off to school. And I watch him put on the different roles, and they're all roles to him, because I see him put on the role of, I'm a 10-year-old boy, and this is what 10-year-old boys do when they go to school. So, and I am really concerned both about his future and the fact that a lot of times a lot of people won't understand the way he is. But anyway, apart from that, I'm also not a very organised person, and I was just mentioning to Ina that I got a sort of an email probably about 2.5 weeks ago to see if I would talk, and I thought, I don't recognise this person's name, so people who get hundreds of emails like me every day, you just don't answer them, so you just ignore it. So I ignored it, and I was in Auckland last week, and someone that I did know rang me up and went, you know, come on, Donna, you're going to talk there. I am too, but I haven't seen him actually here today. So, you know, and I went, oh, okay. So I'm not very organised. The one thing I do like to do is I like to write, and I don't often get a chance to do that. And I tend to write for quite obscure journals or textbooks, so lots of people don't get to read it, but I do like to write that way. In the meantime, I run a health and social service organisation in Dunedin, which is a kaupapa Māori organisation, and so we come into, I work directly with clients. I do, even as the head of the organisation, because of the way I guess, and everyone will know the way you're funded, you actually have to pick up the work yourself and do it, and I find myself sort of probably 20 years after leaving that type of profession, now I'm still doing frontline social work, you know, but that's the way it is. But anyway, what I did was I sat up late on a Monday night, as you do, and I sort of wrote something and thought, yeah, no, so this will be what I'll present. And it's been interesting because of the people that I heard talking. It's pretty much, I think, will reflect a lot of what our after speakers have been saying today. And one of the things that I think I'd have to agree with the last speaker is that I do think that often we fail to identify what the actual problem is, if there's a problem. And so I've titled my paper, Problem Definition and Welfare Reform. What sort of society do we want, and how might a collective vision contribute to reducing long-term benefit receipt? Now, in considering issues of welfare reform, to me it seems that we're not so much dealing with deficient or unproductive sections of society, we're actually dealing with a deficient and unproductive economy. The task then to be accomplished, or for us to consider over the next couple of days, isn't so much how to revise or amend it, but rather to look at some fundamental transformation across the raft of systems in which welfare reform sits inside. This is no mean feat, yet I believe it is only by changing the nature of human experience that we'll actually get to change the product or outcome. To continue to define the problem as inherent in the raw material, i.e. benefit recipients, is plainly to blame the victim and to acquiesce in the continuation of society's inequalities. The unnamed tragedy in all of this is the effect that long-term benefit receipt and social dislocation has on economic productivity and future wealth generation. It is incredibly frustrating for me to note the successive generations of youth that have come to believe that being on a benefit is actually a choice. Who tells them this stuff? Who gets them to believe that that is all they can aspire to? And where are the dreams of this generation? And what role does welfare reform have in providing the stuff of dreams?